But you can also add the noise to like a grid too, which is nice when there is like more columns, like increase the amount of rows and columns, that kind of has more like light details. And if I had a noise on the grid or on just a rectangle, there's not a lot of, so it's just really stiff, you know. Great. So I was kind of going over some stops, how it works. But cool, I have this stop, but this doesn't render. When you ever use stops and you want to render, there are a few notes that it's very important that you should just memorize, take notes on. So I'm gonna just add a null after this. So if I want to make this into render this, I want to add material onto this. Maybe I want to add like a background behind this, a top background. What I need is a geometry comp one. The kind of tricky thing about geometry comp, if I want to make this to a geometry comp, I'll right click this, go to comp, and go to geometry, and this connects to a geometry comp. But if I just make a geometry comp on this, I don't have any input here to connect it. And that's like a common, like, what's happening? You have to, if I want to connect to this chain, I have to right click and like connect it from here. Or in a geometry comp, I'll need to like select this, copy it, and go inside, delete this torus, paste this here. And even if after I paste this here, I notice I still don't see it, I have to turn this display and render flag both on. And then I see it. So that's the two ways of doing a geometry. I guess this is in a way, some people think this is cleaner. Both ways are okay. I kind of tend to build it and then add a geometry afterwards. But just like if you add a geometry and you're like, hey, why can't I connect this? You have to do it after the null, or copy it and have it inside. But even when you have it inside, you have to like turn all these two flags on. So if you're taking notes, maybe that's like a good note to have. So cool. So whenever you have to render, you need a geometry comp. You'll also need a camera comp because you need to see what you're seeing the geometry. So you have a camera comp. And you need a render top. So at the end, the stop goes back to a top. So now all these like referencing over here, I'm gonna delete this one. So you see that these have these arrows here because a render top, it has this star here, and then this like star means like it sees all the geometry, sees all the lights and all the cameras. So this is referencing this camera. This is reference this geometry. But right now you see like it's just like a dark blob because I also don't have lights. So that's another, it's not required to render, but depending on like what you have, you maybe want a light.
Sorry, I lost how you connected the null to geometry.
Yeah. So if I want to make this connect to a geometry, where this output, right click, and then you can go to geometry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we attach on any of the geometry like a texture, like on the 3D when you put like a texture on a cloth?
Yep. So if I want to add a material, we'll go to this yellow tab. So I'm going to first just put a constant and also put a line. And I'll also put down a font, so just a few different to let you see. So the material connects to a geometry, not a SOP. So like if you want a material, you need to connect to a geometry. So the easy way, you can just drag like this line. I'm gonna just drag onto the geometry, and then it'll ask like, what do you want to reference it? I want to reference to material, and now I can this geometry has this line, and then inside here I can change different parameters of it. Cool. This something could be like audio-reactive too. A constant makes like flat, like there's no shadow and stuff. So certain things you want to make it more like 2D look, you can have like a constant. And then if you want like having shadows, so constant is one of those materials that you don't require to have a light, because if I don't have this light, since it's all flat, you still see it. But Fong has like shadow, so then if I have a shadow, have a Fong, I don't see it. It's just all dark because it doesn't have a light. Great. And within this, you can change the colors, but maybe you have like an image you want to have it on the constant, or for example, I have a ramp here. I'm gonna change this to like a circular. I'm gonna just change this resolution to be 1000 by 1000, and just change this to like this. Good practice to just add a null afterwards. I can drag this onto the constant, and then it has that texture on it. But I can do that for like, we'll stretch it because, but I can do like a movie file in. There's a banana on it. I can change this to be like a video. So if I have where's the nature folder?
Yeah, it's usually a subfolder
Yeah.
inside of that.
Oh, there you go. So these are funny where Touchdesigner have these like this nature folder, but it's so subtle. Like this is little treacle. Like this is not like the best example of showing like movement, but like okay, you can also like a movie file, and can also like add levels and everything and like connect it over. Yeah, just so this is great. Like I have this null, then I can just change what I want through here rather than having to reconnect it if I just drag it to the ramp. Nulls are great. So,
Sorry,
yes.
I missed the part. I didn't get why we need geometry and comp here. Why do we need this two? I don't know. Just get the render.
So yeah, I was gonna say, whenever you render, you'll need geometry, a camera, and a render. So if you don't have it, it'll just always stay in a SOP family. It's not rendered, where like you want to add materials, and if you want to like add different layers onto a top, you have to make it back to a top. So to make it to a top, you need to have these different nodes to do it. And yes, so then like if I want this all, they all have like gonna have their own geometry comps layer. And then in our third animation, we're gonna do right now, we're gonna build something, and then I think like working on it, you'll kind of like get more comfortable working with SOPs and everything. But I'm gonna what do we need for rendering a SOP or make it into a render? Geometry. Whoa! Ding ding ding. Camera. Ding 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 ding. And then yeah. Ding 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 ding. Okay, cool. And what if I want to like want a texture on it? What do I use?
Material.
A material. Okay, cool. Okay. I used to teach kids. and like this render top also like it also has like its own resolution. So right now it's 1280 by 720. Later on we can play that will change the size of it too. So kind of go over SOPs. Let's play with SOPs so we can know how to use it more. Then we go up, make another base. And I'm gonna just call this SOP animation.
Are everyone's computers like still happy and running?
Are you dropping frame rate?
Mine is a little bit like heated.
You can turn the fan. No, I was gonna say the fan on if it's heating, but what do you think?
Yeah, if your computer is kind of struggling, you can also turn some of these bases off.
Yeah, so if you're not using it, you can also like if you're using a lot of bases, you can like X this, and it just like turns off the cooking of it and stuff. So if you see the frame rate dropping, maybe you can like exit, and then like when we need it, we can turn it back on. Yes. So this third base, I'm gonna call it SOP animation. There's only gonna be one, but I'm gonna if you want to call it one, maybe you're gonna add more on your own later. And I'm gonna go inside of it. Cool. In here, I'm going to add a sphere SOP first. Let's add a sphere SOP. And in this sphere SOP, I'm gonna make this, I'll have it to be mesh, but I'm gonna change this roughness. The sphere SOP, I'm gonna add a noise after this. So now it's moving. I tend to just like to make things wireframe just so I kind of see what's happening inside here. And I'm going to increase this exponent to be 1.5. And I'll lower this roughness a bit.
Are you made it smoother?
Hmm?
Are you made it smoother?
Exponent 1.5.
Only that, okay.
Yeah. And then I changed the roughness and the exponent. So yeah. And I'm going to add a null after this. And this null, I'm going to make it this wireframe. I'm going to call this inside noise, just so I know what I'm going to use this for. And I'm going to add another sphere. So I have two spheres. And after this, I'm going to add a transform. And this transform, and make this really small. So what I want to do afterwards is make this sphere to clone it to all the points of this sphere. So I'm going to make this really small. So this uniform scale, I'm going to make it to be 0.015. And it's also tiny now. And after this, I'm going to add a null. And the great thing about Touchdesigner, like we can increase this size if we like want it bigger afterwards. But after this null, I'm gonna connect the geometry. And again, if you want to connect to a geometry, you can't just add one and pipe it. You have to right click on the null you want to, not the null, the null, and then add a geometry comp from there. And you don't see it because it's so tiny. So like if I bypass this, you'll see it, but I scale it down quite small. And in this geometry, we are gonna go to this instancing page, and I'm gonna click turn on instancing. And if this, oops, I totally spelled this wrong, but it doesn't matter. Actually, I'm gonna change this, call it inst noise. So I know this is why I'm instancing. I'm gonna drag this to this default instancing operator. So it's telling it what I want to refer to for it to be instancing. And this translate X, Y, Z section, if I click on the arrow and I have it to be P0, P1, and P2, now you see this sphere over here, it clones onto all the points over here. So if I make this points on, you'll see that all this have now replaced to here. So like if I didn't have this transform and so big, you'll see that's a big blob because this is like the same size of this and it's like cloning onto here. But you can also see like if you increase this or lower this, you can change the scale. So here we have a sphere, but you can also do the same thing to like a box. So you can clone the box onto here too, and then if you like scroll in, you see that they're not spheres anymore; they're boxes. And like how does it differ from a sphere mesh versus a sphere polygon? So if I increase the detail, you'll see get more points. Cool. This to 0.15. Yeah. Cool.
I needed to attach on this one text, like I told you. I replaced the rectangle with text.
Awesome. Question?
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah. I don't know why I cannot select this one.
So, because once it's viewer active, it's like it's like harder to see. But if you can replace it, is that what you want, or what do you want to do?
No, I wanted to see the settings, the parameters of that one, and I don't
So,
know.
if you make it not viewer active and you select it,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
So then,
Okay.
So whenever you see it,
Yeah.
it gets confused. I don't know what you're doing. Yeah.
Are we on? How did you get the blue? Is it this one and then P? No.
You seem like you're doing it right.
Is that it?
Yeah.
This is this one above.
Yes.
It has some other kind of point showing.
So, so you click. You have to make it viewer active, and then you press P.
Oh, that's why I couldn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like why do you have to make all both keys? Good.
Just for some context, like the P0, 1, 2, and 3, that's just the XYZ coordinate of each point up in that noise. So you're basically just saying, wherever these points are, duplicate something. When you choose those drop downs, the ends are for normals. If you have any 3D background, those are normals.
Do you remember what was afterwards for them? Just to render this?
Okay, so the translate.
So cool, I instanced this over here. I'm gonna just add another sphere
And those are the X, Y, and
because
Z's of this.
we like spheres here. And this one, I'll have this to be polygon. I'll have this wireframe on.
This is one of those powerful things in Touchdesigner.
Instancing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like know people who have like whole courses on just instancing in Touchdesigner. You can like add on like make a lot of different things or instance like images onto different things, or you can have it to like change the scale. Right now we're doing the T, X, Y, and Z, but you can see there's also rotation and scale, and then there's like a second page, and like there's different pages for like more instancings we can do.
If you want to scale up the points, I mean, for now you have attached the circles, right? If you want to enlarge the circles, we just we go to the first one, the sphere.
So, so you want to increase the sphere, you can do this transform. You can increase it here. Yeah.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. So we made a third sphere, and I made it to a polygon. The details, I'll keep the frequency for 2 for now, and I'll add another noise. And in this noise, I want it to rotate. So I'm going to add a transform after the noise. So sphere, noise, transform. Let's turn on the wireframe mode so I can see what's going to happen. And I'm going to rotate this T, X, and T, Y. So we can do our handy dandy abs time dot frame. And make sure you spell it right, because like, look, I just make this I capitalize, and it got confused, and now it's right. I'm going to copy this and have it both in a TX and TY section. So now this is rotating. Awesome. And after this, I'm add a geometry and make sure you connect to it. And after this, I'm going to I want to render this. So what do I need? A render? Okay, cool. I first got like render.
No, in the camera.
Yeah, because it was like, hey, I see you have these geometry, but like, what do I look at? It wants a camera. So camera, yes. But it's all black. Why is it all black? What do I need? A light. Ooh.
Where does the camera look? My camera look at the other sphere.
Yeah. So right now, because you see, like, it's like on top of each other.
They're together.
Yeah. So I want this geometry to just be a wire, just like a wireframe look. So I'm going to add a line material. And I'm going to make this line material, this geometry to material. So if I just drag this and I say I want to reference it as the material. Great. I'm going to add a null after this and then make this viewer active so I can see what's happening. Great. So right now I have this line on geometry 2 and I have no material on geometry 1. They're both the same size. I would want to have one bigger than another, and I want to add a material on geometry 1. Great. This geometry, you can choose which one you want bigger. You can have this line inside of the sphere, or if you want the line to be outside of the sphere, up to you. I think I'm gonna have this geometry 1 to be smaller. So on the geometry in the first tab, it also has a uniform scale, and I can increase this. So this uniform scale is different from this uniform scale because this changes the dots size of the that's instance on all the dots, all the points, whereas this changed the whole thing scale. And this line material, you can play around with some of these parameters. Over here, on the second page, you can change the color of it. This is always really like, annoying, this line far. So you can choose the color of what it sees more in front and also what's more in back. And the line far color, so it's like confusing because it's the same color of this parameter box. So it's, you can kind of hard to see, but I want this to be white. So both of them to be white. So then I have like a solid white line. Different things, you can add a point on it. So you have these points on edge, and you can change that color too. That's on the points page on the line. And you have to like turn on this draw point to have this line. You can make this line thicker, thinner by doing this with near, with far, like this. Yeah.
It's pretty new, this line material.
This can be something that can be changed in as like audio-reactive. Cool. And this one, I'm gonna add another constant material, or I'm gonna add a constant material. And I'm gonna connect that to the geometry one. And right now it's just white, but we can play around with this. Questions? Yes. Yeah.
It's not it, right? So line one, but it's not it because you
Oh,
don't have.
so you're gonna have a. It's gonna be the mats. So all the material is gonna be in mats. Yeah. Great. So let's make this like prettier. On this render, I'm gonna just change this resolution to be a square. So I'm gonna have it be 1280 by 1280. And I want to have a background, so I'm gonna just do a ramp top. I'll change this ramp to the same resolution, 1280 by 1280. And the ramp type to be a circular. I'm gonna increase this phase and change this color to be like pink to white, sure. And I'm gonna let's composite this. If I add it over, this will just overlay this. Right now it's multiply, so whatever this is in the white line, but I can do like add. That's kind of cool. You can also like, if you want, I just split the plane. If you can make what we made earlier, this to be a background, or this be a background. You can composite it together. You can add a noise as a background. You can use a movie file, whatever you want. And this render, I'm gonna add a feedback I'm going to just use the one from the palette. So it's already, I open the palette box, add this feedback, connect the render to this. You can see if I zoom in, it's like having this like overlay. And maybe like right now I can see all the lines, but maybe I want it to be more smooth. After this I can add a blur. And now like if I increase the blur, you don't see the lines as much, but more of like a gradient of it. And I can have this behind this by this over here. I'm going to add a over and connect this under. So now this is like under it. It kind of also creates this glow effect. Just play around, like if I decrease the feedback and increase it, like this could be a parameters I want to make it audio reactive. And this constant, I can keep it to white. I can over here change the color here if I want. I don't see this because this is on add. But if I change this to over, then I can see the color more, so I can play with different the composition type. Or I can make another ramp. Ooh. Change the color of this ramp. And have this reference the constant. And then this will change like the range color of the dots. So
Do we have to set the resolution for all the ramps that we add?
no, but sometimes when it depends. Because like, for example, if you're doing a lookup, that's like one of those ramps you don't need to change. But sometimes if it's too low, you might see like it doesn't have as much of a range of gradients and stuff. But if you're comping on top, layering, then you should change it. But like sometimes like this one, I guess I didn't change it. But if I like, or I did. But but sometimes you have like lower, like it decreases the range of color because of the resolution is less. Cool. Great. So this is our like third like animation we did. This is like, you can do different things. You can also add like, if you want, you can add an abs time frame on this if you want. This could be another another thing to make it audio reactive. But let's talk about audio now. Cool. I'm gonna change this, call this out, so I can. Anyone needs Brandon? Great. So save. We have these 3 different looks. Let's make another base. And I'm going to call this audio. And we'll go inside of here. And afterwards, like, this is nice that we have in a different base, we'll split the plane and we can look at the audio on one side and whatever we're affecting on the other side. Right. And as I mentioned before, audio, we will start with having the audio file in. And I can't hear it. What do I need to hear this audio? Yeah. Oh, you're paying attention. Star. This is also a point if you have earphones, so you can put one earphone in the ear so you can hear me and connect it so you can see what's happening. I'm gonna keep this like default song. Feel free to use your own audio you want. And turn off this active right now. But we have this audio, cool. I'm gonna add a null after this. And it's very helpful in this palette box. So if you don't have this palette, you can open this palette over here, open palettes. And if we go to, there's all these different pages for different tools. We're gonna go to the page just called tools. Now here we have all these different tools. We're gonna use this handy dandy audio analysis. Before, when I was teaching Touchdesigner, I would have us build something similar to this, but there's a ready tool for it. So like all these are different tools you can like, which is helpful if you like select something and you want to see how they did it. You can go inside and like deconstruct this. I still encourage you, we have this audio analysis tool, but you can go inside and see what it's happening inside here. So an ILF file is coming in, it's changing the range. Is it changing the range? Oh, we can play with changing the range of this. And then it splits between doing the low, mid, high frequency, the kick snare, spectrum density, and it builds this UI that we see over here. So this makes it a lot easier and accessible. Before, I think this is like a pretty new tool.
They keep
Yeah.
making it better too. It used to be very simple, like the whole UI got added.
Yeah.
Where can we find the audio analysis?
Huh?
Where can
So in this palette, you go to the tools page, and then the third one, audio analysis, is over here. So yeah. And if I just drag this null to here, it like whatever your audio, it connects to this. So I'm gonna turn this on. And you see all this different, I'm gonna lower this volume. So you have this low, mid, high, but I only see this low happening over here. And that's because all the rest are turned off. So if these toggles over here, you can turn off low. I'm going to just have high on, kick, and snare. And another useful parameter, so the threshold changed like the sensitivity of it. So if like you see this high happening, if I increase this threshold, it like becomes less sensitive, and then if I decrease it, it's like every little like value kicks it. And same with the kick. You can see what happens if you decrease the threshold. It becomes more sensitive, and same with the snare. So also with different sound audio, this value would change depending.
When you move, and this is a question, when you move the kick threshold, does it move the fader or the ground? Because the UI should be binded.
Yeah, so earlier today, it was weird where like I pressed this and then it wasn't moving, and then like if I like made a viewer this was controlling it. Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's just like a weird bug because earlier today it wasn't connect. So maybe if you're like clicking on this active and you still don't see it moving, try making this viewer active and then like manually clicking on this dot. So cool, you see this UI moving, but like where's the chop? Over here you see this like this output. We'll just add a null after this, and we'll see this chop null with all the values. So this maybe is like easier to see like this if you change the threshold of this, change the frequency, you can play with the.
It's funny, I actually have my own tool I made years ago, but I just started using this and it was better.
No.
The one I had.
I had like tools too, and after I was like, oh, this makes save so much time.
Especially with the user interface.
Mhm. Great. Any questions right now? Cool. So they have all this low, mid, high, kick, snare, rhythms, blah. But I'm gonna, depending what you do, you only want like some of it. And like I know I just want the high kick snare, and everything else is kind of distracting me. So I'm gonna add a select chop after this. And the select chop, I can select the ones I just want to see. So you can type out which ones. So if I type out like high, I only see high. Or I can also press this arrow on the side and I can select the ones I want to see. So I want to see the high, I want to see kick, and I want to see the snare. Then I have all the ones that I want to use rather than getting all of them. Just kind of keep it a little bit cleaner. Cool. And I'll just add a null after this. Yeah. Great. Are we all here? Awesome. So I know these are the things I want to control my animation. I'm gonna split my screen by going to plain layout and split it. For one of them, I'm gonna go to my first animation, which is this top animation over here. And I know this is what I want to reference. There's different ways to do it. I'm going to just add a select chop. And the select chop, I'm going to drag the select chop onto here. And then, so this just pretty much just reference this. So if I change anything here, like I don't want to have the select, I can bypass it. This will just kind of like a tunnel through. So whatever I change here, it also changes here. And I'm going to just close this since I have this reference over here.
So you drag the select over onto the
Mm-hmm.
new one.
Yeah. Audio is gonna be annoying at some point. Cool. And cool. I have this. Great. I'm gonna first turn off my audio. And then this is a time when you can kind of be, depending on you, like you figure out what do you want to control in this. So before I said like a thing you can do is like the amplitude of noise or the exponent is a common one, color, scale, rotation, all that. So you can just go through and see like what do you want to control. So we have the high, we have the kick and the snare. Different types can control better different things. So like I want to have one of the levels. So can see the levels and also knowing what's the range that you want. So maybe this one, this high red, I want it to just be 0.2 to 1. It's good to like, I like to, personally, I write down the different things I want and the range, and then I can like connect that all together rather than like putting it in and then like going back and forth. So you can use the comment, which is Shift C. So I'm like, okay, I want to, as like notes, I just want to change the level, the high R. and I want the range to be like 0.6 to 1. That's one. Maybe I'll also want to change, I want to change the edge strength. Maybe I'm going to have this in the background so I can see how much it can change. So if I change the strength of this or the feedback of this. So maybe opacity of the feedback. Opacity to be 0.5 to 0.9. That'd be cool. Let's just do one more. I'm gonna delete this. We need this exponent, so have it to be 0.1 to 1.5. That's cool. So noise 1 exponent. What did I say? 0.1 to 1.5. Great. So I know these are like the 3 different things I want to change using the high, kick, snare. Then through here, I can add another select. And I just want to select the high. So that's the first thing I want to do to have a control. And I can decide like, Nico, do you think the high should control, do I want to control the color, the feedback of the line, or the noise? So do I want to control this noise exponent? This. Do you want to change the feedback line here? Or do you want to change the color up here? Cool. So feedback, great. And right now it's a little bit crazy. So this, I'm gonna use a trail to see what is this range right now. So right now it's going between 0 and 2 point, around 0 to 2.22-ish. Cool. Yeah. So cool. So I have this high. I'm gonna add a math after this. And right now, so I guess if the range is about like 0 to 2.1. Is that the high? Seems like it. And then I want to change the range I want. So I said I want to change the opacity. So I'm going to change to 0.5 to 0.9. Great. We're going to play around with this in a bit, but I'm going to first add a rename chop after this, because right now it's called high, but I don't know what I want to refer to. I'm going to refer to the feedback opacity, so I'm going to just call this feedback or feed B opacity. It's a really long name, but just so I know what is this value supposed to be for. Turn this off. Great. And I add a null after this. Let's do all of them and then connect them. Yeah. So the next one we'll do play with the kick. Oh, sorry. I'll do a select. I'll select the kick. Anastasia. What would you want the kick to control? Do you want the high R or the noise? If you want to. Awesome. Okay, we'll do the noise. So right now it's 0 to 1. We don't have to change it to range. So I'll add in math. And I put down, I want the noise to be 0.1 to 1.5. So from range, I'll keep the same, 0, 1. And then to the to range, I want to change it to 0.1 to 1.5. And I'll also add a rename. I'll name this like noise expo, so I know what's referring to. Before this null, I'm gonna add a merge chop. And then this, if I add this here, then it'll just have it all together in one null. So I can just reference everything in here from here rather than like having a bunch. Great. And then the last one, snare. Add another select. Select this. And I'll choose snare. And the snare is also 0 to 1. Add a math. And I guess the last one is the color. So and that is ranges to 0.6 to 1. I'll add a rename. And I'll call this high R. And I'll connect this to the merge. Great. So these are all the 3 that changed the range that I said I want. We're going to add some things because we're going to see that some of them might look a little bit, we're going to mess with it. Maybe it's too fast, but I'm going to make this viewer active just so I can see the whole thing, and then I can drag without having to scroll out and drag too far. This feedback opacity, this opacity over here, I'm going to just drag it onto it, see what happens. Cool. Something's happening. It's a little bit fast. We're going to slow this down. Let's do it now. So this feedback opacity, which is over here. One thing, oftentimes the audio, it'll be kind of sporadic, so we want to kind of like slow it down. So we can add a lag chop. So before this rename, I'm gonna add you can do like a lag or a filter. The lag, you kind of have more control. You can choose like how much you want to lag in the beginning and the end. So I'm gonna show you, it's good to use a trail to see what's happening here. So this is it without lag. And all in one. So this yellow one is with the lag that kind of smooths out more. And maybe like I don't want it to have this much. Maybe I want to you can see how it creates a lag more towards the end of the audio. So this is without lag, more sporadic. The lag kind of helps smooth it more. Great. We have that. Let's add it on that's opacity. Let's add it onto the noise now. So that noise exponent. We're gonna also add a lag on it, but let's just see it without it first. So, because right now it's going to 0 to 1. So it's just, looks like it's flipping. But if we add let's see if we add a filter actually.
passing from all the range.
Oh, so if you still like have a square like a 0 to 1, it'll still change it the same way. So it's like if you change the range, it won't the filter and or the lag will kind of slow it down, kind of like a feedback trail down. Does that answer your question?
Not sure.
Where you're paused.
Yeah, no, I think that's what
Oh, I'm sorry.
She was saying like what the math just changed the range, but it doesn't. It'll still keep the same speed of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the drum that causes this abrupt.
Yeah. So it's the value of it. So the filter kind of like makes it smooth because it's just kind of slowing it down a bit. So if you increase it too much, then it'll just kind of have too much delay too. So you don't want to have the lag or the filter value to be too high, because then it's not going to actually be 2 beat. It's going to be like a second off beat and stuff. So it's like a thing you kind of play around with the value of that too. So so this is without the filter. And now like with it, it kind of slows down, but I think it's too slow. I'm gonna do like 0.5. Oh, it's still 2. Oh, sorry. I make this to be 0.5. You can kind of see the great. And the last one, high R. The level, high R, and maybe you like it kind of like more flashy. It's just a preference. If you just like have a little bit of a lag, like it creates like more of a value. It goes through the values rather than being like a pulse or a toggle. So this first audio-reactive one. Yeah. Time's sake, let's go jump into the SOPs, and then if there's any time, guys can play around doing the second tops, whatever you want with it. So I'm gonna split my screen and go to the SOP animation and have the other one in audio so I can select this. This is what I want to reference as. So I can do a select. That is violent. And then I'm going to just drag this onto the select like what I did earlier. So I have this inside here. And I'll close this. So I just have this one up here. Great. Let's see what we want to change. A noise is always a good one. So this like sphere noise, we can change the amplitude for this amplitude. Ooh, I like that. So what if I have it from 5 to 0? That can be like a kick or snare, kind of fun. So I'm gonna just have a note. Noise to amp, and the range I want to be 0 to 5. 5. Whole, that is one. I think if I can change the color of this background, could be another one. So I'm gonna add another level behind here and change the high B this time. If this can be 0.4 to 1. Level high B, what did I say? 0.3, let's do 0.3 to 1. any requests. You can also do the material. You can have the background ramp. What about the background ramp?
Say period.
Period?
Or phase, either one.
Do you want to? Okay, let's do phase. What range do you like? Huge? It's like only like 0 to 1. Or how about?
Like 0.2 to 0.8.
Okay. Ramp. Phase. 0.2 to 1. Great. We know what we're going to do. And you can do more. You can have like the high control more things. You can have the kick to control more things. We're just doing one for each just for like this workshop. But you're not limited to just doing 3 because you just have 3. That reference. Awesome. So like what we did earlier, same things. Add a select. I'm going to select the high. What would you want the high to control? Do you want to control the noise, the level, or the ramp? Huh?
The level.
Okay, great. So, right, what we said earlier, this math range, I believe it was like 0 to 2.1-ish. And then, so we said level, we're going to change this range to be 0.3 to 1. Cool. And I'm going to rename this so I know what this is referring to. And we said level. So let's call this level HB so I know what in the level afterwards. And I'm going to add a null. And I'm going to do another select. And this one, I'm going to have it to be kick. Someone else. What do you want this kick to control? You can scream it out.
The noise.
Okay, great. The noise. So another math. Right now it's 0 to 1, but I want to have the noise, so I want to be 0 to 5. Ooh, big range. Cool. And another rename. I'll call this noise amp. Add it. Huh?
The range didn't take.
Oh, okay. Thank you. 0 to 5.
Why do we have to merge them?
You don't have to. You can have it all as nulls, but then if you reference them all, I just think it's easy. Makes it cleaner that they're all in one, rather than you have to find which. If you have like 5 different nulls and stuff.
One might call that last one like exports.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
you have everything good.
Yeah. Cool. And then the last one, we have a snare. I'll copy this math and I'll change this range. What's the last one we didn't use? The ramp. So 0.2 to 1. And I know I'm gonna, especially these two, or all of them, I'm gonna add filters or lag onto it, but it's kind of good to see like without it raw how it looks first, so we know like how much we want to control it afterwards, at least. And this one, I said ramp phase. Cool.
Another handy thing about the merge is if you wanted to add the same smoothing to all of them,
Yes.
you just add one filter.
Yeah. So let's just do that for this one. So we can add a, I'm going to add a lag. And add this 0 to 2. So now that's all on of it. And so also now like I can just make this view and I can have all of them select rather than having them all different nulls, then easier to reference. So now I know what it is because I renamed it. So let's go to this level. That was one. So we said high B. Cool, the color is changing. That is doing it. We said a ramp, so yeah, you did your part. and then also this noise over here. Where's it? It's here. This is outdoor one. So oh yeah. This range is kind of too high, so I'm going to change this ramp to maybe like 0 to 3. Actually, it's just 1. Oh, I didn't remember. Change this back to. I'm going to increase this lag to like 0.5. It's not the most beautiful thing. But this is a group effort, and this is what you guys told me to do. So, so this is what we built. But I wanted to give you guys some time to practice it on your own. So we'll have this other third animation over here. You can do what we did, reference this audio, have it connect to different parameters you want. Like one thing kind of said that was here that would be kind of fun is like maybe this rectangle, you can have a rotation for this. That'd be nice. Or like if after this you add a transform, transform can change the scale and the rotation. Could be fun thing. This noise, amplitude, that's a nice one. If you want to do the ramp period and practice making this audio-reactive and make it your own. This is a little bit more, I think I'll talk about it, which I think it just makes it more clean if you're actually doing bigger projects. So if you know what you want to do, the different parameters you want to do, you can have it to use build a custom parameter. So then you can just easier to reference, and then you don't have to go in and find that parameter. So you can do that. I'm going to show this by this example over here. If you go up to this base, and I right click, and I go to customize components, it creates this, ooh, look at my frame rate. It went to 9. Hold on. Yeah. Let me X this. Oops. Great, I got to 2030. So this one, if I right click and do customize component, this windows opens up. And if I make it like a custom page, if I go to this base, I add page, you see under here, I create a new page over here. And what I can do is I can add the parameters I want to control over here. Then I don't have to go inside and find it. So the easiest way to do it is I'm going to split my plane to 2 and go inside and find what I want to control. So maybe I want to do this noise amp. I can drag this onto here this comp window. And I choose bind new par as master and make sure it's purple. Because now over here, I can change this amplitude in this custom parameter. And then that you can drag it, right? Rather than like type, like, yeah. Yeah, this is the easier way, yeah. Yeah, so, and it's important that when you do it, so like, let me drag this again, to have it to be bind as master rather than reference. Previous with, yeah, does it matter actually? So as a master, sorry, the first way, I guess it kind of both doesn't matter, but make sure it's purple. And when it's purple, what it does is that it makes sure that both ways you do it, it controls both ways, rather than if you have one and then if it breaks the connection. Cool. And then it's like you can add the different custom parameters, and then in that case, you don't have to go inside and find it. You can directly like have this audio control over here. That makes sense? Cool. Awesome. So the rest of the time, you can have fun